When a team spends £1 billion over the course of 2 transfer windows to add on to their academy being one of the best in England and having a manager in Mauricio Pochettino who has managed the likes of PSG and Spurs, you would expect said team to not only be a good competitive team, but also low-key a title challenger for the Premier League. After all, £1 billion over the course of 2 windows can not only get you a whole new team, but can also allow you to get some really world-class players. Through spending this £1 billion, Chelsea took a different approach than most would expect. Just like a game of Football Manager, Chelsea signed as many young wonder kids as possible, mixed in with some young-ish players that are more capable of playing and performing to a high level right now. And even so, despite this, you would expect Chelsea to be at least at the bare minimum in the hunt for the top 4. But here we sit in the beginning of December, and despite some decent results and doing fairly well against bigger teams, Chelsea sit 10th in the table with 5 wins, 4 draws and 6 losses. But considering Chelsea are a huge club globally and the fact that they spent £1 billion, they are not supposed to be this bad. So what's the reason for this? Well, that's what we will be talking about today. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Back of the Net here. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, as I mentioned previously, that Chelsea, to their credits, haven't been too bad over the past month or so, and against big teams have a really good record and have been doing very well. But this game against Man United has raised concerns for Chelsea fans all over again. Now, I must admit that some of these concerns are probably slightly reactionary, such as Enzo being overrated, or the only good player that they have is Cole Palmer. But with that being said, the loss against United is a horrible one for Chelsea, and I know on paper it's only a 2-1 loss, but they very easily could have conceded maybe 4 or 5 goals had it not been for Robert Sanchez making some really good saves, or United just being not clinical in front of goal. And I think the worst part about this loss for Chelsea is the fact that United came into this game in a bad way. Journalists had been banned, leaks were pouring out of the club, they had looked horrendous in their previous 2 games, and there were even strong reports that the United manager Erik ten Hag had lost the dressing room. And Chelsea seemed to be coming into this game in decent shape, coming off a good 3-2 victory against Brighton, and I mean, they did very well against big teams throughout the season, with a 1-1 draw against Liverpool, 2-2 draw against Arsenal, 4-4 draw with City, and smashing Spurs 4-1. But despite all these things being in favour of Chelsea, they came to Old Trafford to face a team that were a mess, and somehow, someway, Chelsea managed to lose the game 2-1, and like I said, easily could have been smashed 4 or 5. And it's not just this loss to a team that was struggling, but it was the manner of the loss. Chelsea seemed to be sleepy, lacking any grit or fight, just kind of wanting the game to be over from the first minute. Absolutely destroyed from the first minute. Now, with spending £1 billion, I don't care about any excuses. You need to be fighting for the top 4 at a bare minimum. I don't care of the fact that you're going for younger players. I don't care of the fact that you guys need time to gel. I don't care about none of that. You have to be fighting for the top 4 at the bare minimum if you want to spend £1 billion over the course of a year. It is unacceptable for a club the size of Chelsea, with the managers they have, the players they have, and the money they have spent, to not be in the talks for the Champions League spots. I know Chelsea have suffered injuries, but I mean, which team hasn't suffered injuries this season? I know Chelsea are young, but Arsenal were the youngest team in the league last season and finished 2nd. And to me, it seems like if any other team spent £1 billion over 2 windows and acquired not only the player talent but managerial talent that Chelsea did, those teams would be getting fried right now. I mean, just imagine if football Twitter or football Reddit or Instagram or whatever you want to use, imagine how those things would be reacting if Man City spent £1 billion over a year and are a mid-table team. Now, while yes, I acknowledge that Chelsea are a young, talented group of players, I mean, I guess you could say they are rebuilding, but unlike in the NBA, there is no draft to soften the blow for Chelsea. The position they find themselves in is just not good enough for the money they spent and the size of the club that Chelsea are. Now, if I'm being honest, I do expect Chelsea to turn this around and probably fight for the 6th to 8th range when the season is nearing an end. But as it stands right now, Chelsea need to find a solution. It's just not good enough for the club that Chelsea are. But what is the solution? Well, I don't think many people can argue that Mauricio Pochettino Pochettino's seat is hot and that he maybe should be the first one going. As much as people want to blame Todd Boehly for the way that Chelsea have progressed, and I suppose a lot of it can be blamed on Todd Boehly, I think a lot of it has to go on Mauricio Pochettino, and a conversation needs to be had about Mauricio Pochettino's credibility. I mean, outside of the decent job he had at Southampton, yes, he had a really good job done at Spurs, but I mean, the job he did at PSG was horrendous, was a nightmare, and what he's doing at Chelsea seems to be not much different from the PSG job. He doesn't seem like he controls the team. The young players, I don't know, maybe don't seem to respect him, so a lot of this blame has to be on Mauricio Pochettino. Now, I'm not saying that Chelsea should go out and sack Mauricio and that's going to solve all the problems that Chelsea have, because Lord knows that's not the truth, but Mauricio definitely has to hold a lot of the problems on his shoulders for this. Todd Boehly has to take a lot of the blame, the Chelsea board have to take a lot of the blame, and I suppose it just has to come down to a lot of the Chelsea players, whether they are young, whether they are old, whatever it is, you have to take a lot of the blame. Like I said, I know Chelsea have repositioned themselves and have now young players and are trying to build for the future, but they should not be this bad at this current stage in time. If any other team had spent £1 billion, I would love to see how those teams would begin roasted right now. It seems like Chelsea are just getting moved along and people don't really care as much. But as for Chelsea's point of view, it is unacceptable. They need to put things right. And like I said, it's so frustrating for them because over the past month or so, they had been doing fairly well, getting some good results, especially against some really big teams, but now they go into Old Trafford, a team that is in disarray, and go out and lose the way they did. But I don't want people to overreact as much as it sounds like I am overreacting. It's just a simple fact of the matter that Chelsea should be doing a lot better than they are. I do think Chelsea are going to turn it around, like I keep saying. I think 6th to 8th is realistic for them, but as it stands right now, it's not looking good. But yeah guys, that's the video. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about Chelsea and their season so far? Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.